Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. Let's talk about a little bit for a second about that whole Flashpoint Grace Randolph thing. I know a lot of people have debunked it so far, and including scoopers like Umberto and other people, all debunked Grace Randolph. And to be fair, though, just to be fair, in her video, she actually means that Wonder Woman will do something in the timeline that will alter the effect, like a butterfly effect later on. And I think I talked about this. So it's not Flashpoint per se, but she put down Flashpoint in her tweet and in her title as kind of a clickbait type thing. But when you really listen to it, that's not what she meant, and I think she should have worded it differently. But still, yet it still doesn't make sense, to be honest. I mean, changing the timeline doesn't mean you change the actors, right? It doesn't all of a sudden like, well, that's not Henry Cavill anymore, but that's not Bruce Wayne anymore. But I mean, that's not. I'm Clark. I said Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's not Clark anymore. It's weird. So that wouldn't quite work in that respect. Now, she said that, meaning there may be parts of it where it came from in terms of truths, possibly. Not saying that the whole thing is true. It's like it could be in part of the studio's mind to do something about time change, changing time, something altering, something to do with Steve per se. So it's like, but she took it 3-4 steps ahead where you may not need to have done. So because there are some people out there saying that there is some little bit, but not to the extent she's talking about. So that's interesting in itself. But we'll see, and we won't see for a while because Wonder Woman's been delayed quite a bit down the line. The other movie there was talking about was Matt Reeves' Batman, and this is coming from Batman News, which originally come from Revenge of the Fans. According to the rumor, Matt Reeves' Batman film, still known as The Batman, won't hit theaters until 2020 at the earliest, but 2021 seems more likely. Revenge of the Fans is reporting that Matt Reeves is hoping to start filming his Batman film in either the spring or summer of 2019. From there, it would seem like 2020 could be a likely release date, but other sources are saying that it is a best case scenario and that 2021 seems far more likely. The other rumor gaining momentum is whether or not Ben Affleck will be the man under the cowl. It seems that talks have occurred for him to continue on in the role, but nothing concrete has materialized as of yet, because I mean it's still so far away. At this point with this film, we do feel like it will happen, but would definitely consider all of it to be in a flux from day to day. At some point there will be a new solo Batman film, and we just hope it's sooner rather than later. Of course, they just got the script, so they're still working that out. Whatever that Matt Reeves Batman is going to be, talks of it's being like noir, like it's like a sort of semi prequel to say, but we won't know for sure until a little bit later, and it looks like we're gonna have to wait a little bit more for the Batman film. So just like Wonder Woman, they've delayed that in a bit, and I kind of say people are like saying it's gonna have to wait. They never really said when the Batman was gonna come out. They really never really said. But from expectations, I guess you can say that is delayed from your expectations, even though it wasn't official when the Batman was going to come out. So it's not really big news, but it's great to hear that it's possible that Ben Affleck is still going to be the Batman, according to Revenge of the Fans podcast. Now, I recently watched Titans, and I'm past episode 3. I'm waiting for the Doom Patrol episode this week. But I noticed in the last episode where we get a little bit more backstory to Dick Grayson. Not like we didn't know his backstory, you know what I mean? Yeah, Robin, Bruce Wayne. But we do get to see the Wayne Manor still intact. And what I meant by that is that even though it feels like even his Robin costume feels like it's part of the DCEU, the Snyderverse per se, it's still not really telling you that it connects even at all. So we should really think about that. But it's cool to see that when Bruce Wayne does show up, you only see the back of his head, and then in the second scene you actually see him a little farther away, blurry, looking behind Dick Grayson. And I just can't help but look at him and I'm like, that dude looks like a young Ben Affleck, right? It looks like Batfleck. And was that their intention? And that gives me wondering, is that their intention? Was it to look like this was part of the Snyderverse? Like, when was this story made? And it's interesting that this story is created by Jeff Johns. This show is created by Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns, the one that we've been pointing fingers as altering the Snyderverse, and yet altering the Snyderverse so that it became the tone, a lighter tone, and things, hope and optimism. Yet when you watch Titans, it's definitely a darker tone. It's very violent. There's swearing. You could swear up and down that this could really very well be connected to the Snyderverse in terms of tone, in terms of how the story, how dark it is. And I think maybe that's why I like it. But it's amusing and, you know, head scratching to wonder, maybe there was more to the story, to Jeff Johns altering Justice League and everything else. It was probably more players in that, and seemingly Jeff Johns, maybe there was a part, okay, because even Jay Oliva said he had no problems with Jeff Johns. He worked with Jeff Johns. He had no problem with him. So he's not sure where all the hate is coming from. So this is it, right? So like, when Justice League happened, we had the Justice League Part 1, Part 2. Jeff Johns came on board with Charles Roven, and they altered into Justice League 1. But that was before the year that Zack Snyder stepped down. So maybe there was a Snyder cut in which all the execs saw it's one movie that had involvement of Jeff Johns, and it was still that darker tone, and that is why they got them, or Kevin Tsujihara maybe, or John Berg had got a hold of Joss Whedon and says, we gotta change this to more MCU type, you know, a movie. So that is interesting. I mean, Jeff Johns did alter the first time, but maybe the first alteration is not as bad as the third or fourth alteration of the Justice League movie, the Justice League movie, if you will. So who knows which, if the Snyder Cut ever comes out, will it be Part 1 and Part 2, or will it be the first version that was first compromised that had Jeff Johns involved? Not too heavily, but maybe lightly indicated, as it seems like he's okay with this type of darker, this type of tone, this type of violence that is prominent in the Titans series. So I'm just trying to wonder how he had altered Justice League to the point that it became the Justice League, or did his altered version is one movie that will probably way better than Justice League, and will hopefully, or maybe we'll get to see in the Snyder Cut, unless the Snyder Cut is Part 1, Part 2. Who knows? But I thought that was interesting to see that what really looks like Ben Affleck in that a young Ben Affleck. I know there's people saying that it's that Asian dude, but it's not. I mean, it's some people discredit it already, but just the fact that his name, they're keeping it secret. His name is not even in the IMDb credits. You know, Bruce Wayne. They're really keeping it secret, but it just looks like him. In fact, when he walks out and he's blurry behind Dick Grayson, it just looks like it's not Ben Affleck. But I'm just saying that it had that same stature, but. In any case, Ben Affleck, I hope he's still Batman. And of course, Henry Cavill, I hope he's still Superman. Now, still Superman, rather. There's this thing that I want to just bring up before we end this today. Portal Henry Cavill Bro, I think this says at Henry Cavill BR. He put this tweet out that join our campaign using the hashtag Henry Cavill is our Superman on Twitter on November 3rd, 5 p.m. Brasilia time, and let's make some noise to show that hashtag Henry Cavill is our choice to wear the red cape. And here's his picture. Hashtag Henry Cavill is our Superman, November 3rd. There's also some times for us Americans here. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Looks like 8 p.m. UK time. 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. November 3rd. People will be tweeting out hashtag Henry Cavill is our Superman. I support this. I'm definitely going to tweet that out with a whole bunch of pictures of Superman. Even Daniel RPK actually put out a Twitter vote where there says, would you rather have Henry Cavill as Superman? And most of them said yes, like 70% said yes. So there is a thing for that. And it may be a small tool, but it drives attention, and maybe, you know, I mean, it worked for the Twitter and the blogger sphere, worked for Warner Brothers to change Justice League into what it is, into Justice League. We can definitely reverse that, and you know, there's some way possible that someone's watching. If they were watching and careful care to try to make the movie to appease the bloggers, we can definitely switch that around and have them say, hey, you know, we want Henry Cavill back as Superman. Pay him whatever it takes, you know, to get him back as Superman. We think he's a great Superman. Ben Affleck, great Batman. And, you know, give it a shot. Who's going to hurt? It's going to just a little bit of your time, say hashtag Henry Cavill's our Superman, whatever, you know. So until then, hopefully we get a little bit more stuff this week. There was supposed to be more news about non-Marvel related news according to some scoopers, but we shall see what happens this week. Alright, that is it for today. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.